Total War Saga Troy surprised me. I forgot this game even existed until around a month ago when I saw this guy's awesome screenshots and decided to finally put some time into it. To my surprise, the game is a ton of fun. Certainly more than I thought it would be, and it's got a lot of potential. The big question mark hanging over its head is whether CA will stick with it and realize that potential, or whether they'll abandon it once Total War Warhammer 3 kicks off. And that's the topic of today's video: the good, the bad, and what I hope the future looks like for Total War Saga Troy. There's a ton of stuff to go over, so a like on the video would really help me out, and let's begin. Total War Saga Troy takes place in the Bronze Age during the legendary Trojan War. Developed by CA Sophia and released last August as an Epic exclusive, it's gotten half a dozen or so patches and a few DLCs since then, including Blood and Glory, Amazonian Waifus, and the Chad Pack. The first thing we need to talk about is this game's presentation. It's simply stunning. The campaign map is drenched in these orange and black hues, juxtaposed against beautiful emerald coasts and deep blue seas. Everywhere you look is just dripping with character. The paper-like fog of war literally burns away as you reveal it. On the battle side of things, the maps are varied, colorful, and packed with terrain features that actually impact the performance of your soldiers. And speaking of soldiers, they look awesome. I've wanted a Bronze Age Total War game for years, so I'm definitely biased, but seeing those goofy figure 8 shields and those funny hats make me a happy man. They've even managed to shoehorn an Egyptian unit into the game, so we get to see Kopeshes in action as well. This is easily the best looking Total War game we've ever had, both on and off the battlefield. It's obvious that CA Sophia was trying to sell us that mythical Greece aesthetic here, and in my opinion, they nailed it. The sound design is excellent as well. The UI sound effects are chunky and satisfying, nothing is particularly grating, the battle sound effects are solid, and the soldier shouting is excellent. Seriously, it needs to be said, nobody ever talks about this, but ever since Warhammer 2, they've taken the immersion of the soldier sound effects to the next level. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here in Total War Attila, I'm going to select my soldiers and then tell them to charge. Not bad, right? You hear the thundering footsteps of the soldiers and shouting when the lines engage. Now I'm going to do the same thing in Total War Saga Troy.
Braced and ready! Crush them!
That's what I'm talking about. When you highlight your soldiers, they literally scream at you, and it brings a smile to my face every time I hear it. They'll occasionally even break out into battle chants that remind me of those Maori war dances. They may be little details, but they're immersive, and I'm a huge sound design enjoyer, so I really appreciate them. Now let's talk about the campaign side of things. The map is huge. Like Mortal Empire's huge. I was dreading the amount of water on this map, but luckily, moving across the sea is a breeze. No pun intended. Your armies have a huge amount of movement points when they traverse water, and thank the gods for that, because moving armies across the sea in Rome 2 and Attila is cancer. There are 8 playable factions to choose from, 12 if you own both of the DLCs, and all of them are aligned with either the Achaeans or the Trojans, so there's no playable third alliance. You aren't forced into allying with your kin, so you can technically go it alone, but you're definitely supposed to buddy up. The game's way harder if you don't. Just like in Warhammer and Three Kingdoms, the playable factions each have their own unique mechanics. For example, Menelaus can settle any ruins on the map without having to send troops there. He can also recruit troops from his allies' rosters for an inflated cost. There's also a god favor system that everyone has access to. Building temples and offering resources to the various Greek gods will confer you faction-wide benefits. I'm a big fan of opening with Aphrodite because on higher difficulties, public order can be a pain in the ass, and she gives it out in droves. Before a big battle though, you'll probably want to pray to Ares to buff your soldiers and debuff the enemy. I enjoyed interacting with this mechanic and theory crafting the best gods for the right situations. On the Trojan side of things, Sarpedon collects unique resources and spends them for faction-wide buffs. He can also hijack other factions' trade agreements, called barter agreements in Troy, if he has enough influence in their territory, which in this game is very powerful. Now why is that so powerful? Because the economy in this game is completely different from other Total War games. So instead of a single cash resource, the economy is split into 5 different ones: food, wood, stone, bronze, and gold. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about this system going in, but once I understood what was going on, I quickly grew to love it. The simplest way to describe it is imagine Age of Empires or Age of Mythology's resource system. It's essentially the exact same idea. All units cost food, but higher tier units can also cost gold or bronze to recruit, as well as to upkeep. Bronze and gold are both more rare than the other 3 resources, much like in the actual Bronze Age, so all this adds some dynamism to the economic management that I never knew that I wanted. Every settlement produces a specific resource, so certain settlements will be more or less attractive for you to conquer depending on your needs. Naturally, this also makes trade agreements, again called barter agreements, more valuable because you won't always have settlements that produce the resources that you need. The campaign AI is treacherous and aggressive, which I like. However, it still does stupid stuff like declaring war, doing nothing, and then offering peace 10 turns later. The AI participates in the bartering system, usually asking for lopsided deals that you would never realistically agree to, but occasionally the more friendly factions will offer you solid, mutually beneficial agreements. The point system from 3 Kingdoms makes an appearance, so you can see just how close you are to offering a deal that the AI will accept. Quick Deal from 3 Kingdoms is also here, so you can see who will accept certain agreements at a glance. Region trading is in the game as well. Let's hope this means it's going to be in all Total War games going forward. Overall, the diplomacy feels really good in Troy, at least by Total War standards. It's not as good as 3 Kingdoms, but it's definitely better than the rest.
I am interested in hearing what's on offer.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, going into this game, I was worried that the battles were gonna be trash. That seemed to be the review consensus in the YouTube sphere anyway. I knew cavalry was scarce and siege weapons were non-existent, so I sort of held my breath. Well, I can tell you this, the battles feel fine. They handle fine. They did a decent job of differentiating between infantry classes. Flankers, tanks, chargers. You can't just throw your infantry into a blob and call it a day like you usually do in Total War. And that's a really good thing because you're not really working with much else here. It's all infantry and all missiles all day long. I was worried that this game would be Shogun 2 clone armies all over again, but thankfully, that's not the case. The battle map variation and terrain modifiers shake the battles up a bit, as do the mythical units and the unique units that every legendary lord has access to. That being said, there is still definitely a lack of battle diversity because of the Bronze Age setting. Sure, we get chariots, but that's no replacement for traditional cavalry units. And neither are the Centaur mythical units you can get either. I guess this is a good time to talk about the mythical units. The mythical units are, in my opinion, the mother of all missed opportunities. Remember when I was praising the resource system for feeling like Age of Mythologies? Well, unfortunately, the myth units don't feel like Age of Mythologies. They feel like Walmart brand early access versions of myth units. CA tried to go for this truth behind the myth vibe with Total War Saga Troy, and in my opinion, it was a disaster. So for those who don't know, Troy is based on the Warhammer engine. So they could have brought the Minotaur from the Beastmen into Troy with minimal reskinning, could have used the exact same model and animations, and no one would complain, at least I certainly wouldn't. For the Cyclops, grab the green skin giant, slap a new skin on it, you're good to go, no new animations required. Medusa, same thing. Harpies, they're right there. But why stop there? Add in the Hydra and the Manticore while you're at it. Turn this game into a full-fledged Greek mythology title. I promise the game would have been better for it. Like, sieges are kind of one-dimensional without siege weapons. Not a problem. My Cyclops will smash down the wall, and then my Minotaur will somersault his way through the breach while Agamemnon laughs in the background. If they had done that, this game would have gone from a "it's pretty fun, grab it for $30" to "holy shit, stop what you're doing right now and play this game." Like, one of my gripes with the game is that it kind of sucks being limited to the Mycenaeans and the Trojans, and not having the Hittites, Egyptians, Assyrians, Babylonians, etc. represented in a game about the Bronze Age. But that being said, going full mythology would totally make up for that, because Greek mythology is so rich and deep that it can carry an entire game by itself. Now don't get me wrong, I'd rather have these lame versions of myth units than not have them at all, but it physically pains me at how easily this could have been a disgustingly fun S-tier Total War game, as well as a spiritual successor to Age of Mythology. The truth behind the myth thing they went for here kind of waters down the heroes as well. Heroes should feel like absolute chads in Troy, just like they do in Warhammer and Three Kingdoms, but they're kind of bland in Troy. Achilles should be wood chipping through lines of infantry, pissing off Poseidon by literally turning his oceans red with blood. That's pretty accurate to the source material. They're not terrible, they just don't feel legendary. It almost feels like every lord in the game has the power level of a generic Empire lord from Warhammer, if that makes sense. Anyway, my other gripes with the game are pretty minor in comparison. The units look great, but the combat animations look downright strange. And the focus on the Achaeans and the Trojans to the exclusion of every other culture really hurts the long-term replayability of this game. The Lord skill tree UI is not great compared to Warhammer's, and the UI in general is serviceable but a bit clunkier than Warhammer's overall. So let's now talk about what I see in this game's future and what I hope for. First and foremost, we need more factions, more cultural representation. This map is freaking huge. There needs to be at least double the number of playable factions for this game to go the distance. The Ionians are sitting pretty up there in Attica. Let us play as those bad boys and make Uncle Pericles proud. What about Knossos on Crete? You could give them Minoan influences and Minotaur warriors. They could do a map expansion into Anatolia and add in a Hittite expedition like the Roman expedition from the last Roman DLC for Total War Attila. Or how about this? What if they unlock the Dorians and their campaign pushes you south to invade and dumpster the Mycenaeans? Now that would be immersive. They could even be an endgame invasion threat like Chaos, Attila, or the Normans from Thrones of Britannia. And speaking of invasions, where are the Sea Peoples? They'd be a great way to liven up the endgame. There's so much potential here, and the more excuses we have to play around on this beautiful map, the better. With the Steam release coming in a few months, I hope we see an influx of new players and modders into Troy, and I hope CA doubles down on their support for it. They've already supported it more than Thrones of Britannia, but that's like being the tallest kid in kindergarten. That's not a very high bar to meet. And we've already seen with games like Total War Attila how sad it can be when games with great potential just get left hanging in the wind. So do I recommend Troy in its current state in 2021? On sale, yes. I would say it's worth paying $30 for. But anything more than that, no. It just isn't. You have to understand that this game lacks replayability. It's a lot of fun, but there's not much meat there to sink your teeth into. You know, they're charging $50 for it, and for $10 more, you get Warhammer 2. That's not even close. You'll get so many more hours out of Warhammer 2, or even Rome 2. Now, this could all change with a couple more meaty content expansions, but we're not there yet, and when you come to my channel, you're going to get my honest opinion. Total War Saga Troy surprised me by being a good game, and I hope CA surprises me by making this good game a great game. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you got value out of it, then go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, as it really does help me out. If you want to see more Total War content just like this, then on your screen right now is a link to another video that you might enjoy. Let me know down below what content you would like to see added to Total War Saga Troy, and let me know if you've played it and whether you're planning on picking it up on Steam. Take care everyone, and I hope to see you all in the next video.